Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, wherever you may be listening from. Welcome back to another episode of Cheeky Chip Chat. Of course, the cheekiest football podcast this side of the Atlantic. Today we are joined. We are hosted by myself and Paul, as always. Paul, how you doing? How was your week? How was your week off? In fact, we had no show last week, the international break. How was your week off?
It was quite nice. I enjoyed it. I missed seeing you. Missed seeing you. But
Yeah,
uh, it was good though. It was good times. Good times.
we like having our midweek shenanigans. This is of course when we get to come together and banter about all things football. We keep it bottled up during the weekend when the games are going on, and then we just kind of let loose on the show. So I'm
I know.
excited to do that a little bit.
I will actually say, Rahul, this was the first time in a long time I have not enjoyed international soccer.
Why is that?
I don't know. I don't know what it was. Well, the USA wasn't playing. Okay, so get that out of the way. But Germany was playing, so I'm still a happy camper.
Uh
But like,
huh.
I don't know if it's just like the no fans thing, or if it's just like I don't know. You always talk about how they're meaningless games. At least these are like nation league game. I don't know. I don't know. I just wasn't excited for it this time
Come to the
around. Wasn't
dark side,
excited.
Paul. Come to the dark side.
No,
Dread
no,
the
no. Calm down.
international breaks.
Calm down. I see you've been crushing FIFA recently a
I
lot.
have, man. I have. I'm really enjoying FIFA 21. Actually, I think this is the first show we've done since I've played the new FIFA. Really, really, really enjoying myself. The through balls, crosses, they work much better in this game than they did in the last game. See, this game, it's much easier to score, which makes it more fun, but also it's easier to concede, which is quite frustrating. But I was reading one review, and I completely agree with it, which is that you might concede a really frustrating goal because you'll be like, hey, the AI is overpowered, but then you'll forget all about it like a minute later when you score a worldie of your own. And it's much more fun to play that way than, I mean, last year it kind of devolved into this very, the defense was too good both on the player controlled side and the AI side, so it just kind of devolved into lots of, one nothings, 1-1s, 2-1s, whereas now, I mean, I'm winning a bunch of games, 7-5. So it might not be the most true to life experience, but it is certainly a fun football game to play. So yeah, I have been crushing it, man. I
All
got my
right.
I got my ultimate team going. We might start a career mode. We're gonna get our money's worth out of this game, man.
Oh, you gotta have to. You're gonna have to. No, you're convincing me.
Hey man, you,
All right.
you jump on. Who knows? Maybe we do a couple of challenges, couple of squad, no pun intended, squad building challenges. Not like an ultimate team. I mean, we can play some friendlies, with some squads built with some parameters and see how it goes. See who comes out on top. Who builds the best squad? We'll have some
And
fun.
who knows? We might even put it up on here for everybody.
Yeah, see that we can't. We have to say might, right? We can't promise. We can't give them everything. We gotta
Yeah.
kind of lead them down the garden path a little bit. So maybe that content will come at some point. Chip,
Possibly.
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 But of course that hinges on Paul getting FIFA. So of course feel free to reach out to Paul on Twitter at Cheeky Paul and let him know to get the freaking game because it's quite good this year.
That's fair. That's
Do you
fair.
like how I plugged your Twitter and kind of
I do like that.
on
We're
you?
gonna plug in it a lot today.
Yeah, we will. We will. But without further ado, let's get started here. We got quite a bit of stuff to cover today. Starting with the deep fried. We're going straight into deep fried. Probably our flagship segment on the show. Every week we try to go deep into the biggest matches in European football. Try and dive behind the tactics, dive behind the past the headlines, past just the goals and the assists, but kind of go deeper into the game, and go beyond just what the traditional analysts try and do. So, without further ado, Paul, let's get into our first match that we're going to be deep frying this week, which was, of course, the Merseyside Derby. Now, Everton coming into this match top of the table, of course. Liverpool, the reigning Premier League champions. How much it pains me to say that. Looking to assert their dominance over their local rivals as they have for the last few seasons in the league table. Now both sides coming in with the 4-3-3 formation. Liverpool, of course, coming off of that horrid defeat that has somehow they managed to match United's 6-1 defeat at Tottenham with seven was it 7-2, Paul? 7-2?
7-2.
7-2 against Aston Villa. I mean, at least we lost against a decent team. But anyway, yes, shots fired.
Whoa. Whoa, everybody. Wow.
Liverpool losing 7-2, looking to bounce back. Some changes made at the back. Joe Gomez dropped in favor of Joel Matip. Of course, Virgil van Dijk in the back line. Otherwise, looking pretty standard for Liverpool. When it comes to Everton, James Rodriguez playing in more of a wide player role. Instead of centrally. Paul, you got any comments on that and the rest of the Everton lineup?
It's the way Carlo Ancelotti has chosen to play James Rodriguez. He floats into the middle, but he is primarily been kind of that right wing player. I was just as interested as you were to why Carlo Ancelotti has been playing him out on the right. We always think about James Rodriguez as more of a center midfielder, right? Maybe
and you know how I hate central players being played on the, especially, I don't know why. I think it's because we have an abundance in the game of really talented left wingers, and we have this phenomenon where left wingers are actually being played as like left forwards. So it's cool for them to be right footed, and I feel like there's more right footed people for some reason. And so there's this phenomenon where it happens, especially on the right hand side. You play central players out on the right because for whatever reason you can't find right-sided players, and it's just weird. I don't like it.
I don't know either, but to your point about the left wingers with right feet, James Rodriguez is primarily a left-footed player.
Exactly. So it makes sense. It makes sense why he would do a better job than most when played out on the right-hand side. Of course, Richarlison starting up there. And the midfield, very interesting decision, a personnel decision here, Paul, going with Andre Gomez, Alan and Decore. Alan and Decore, of course, signed, very recently. They really shored up the midfield this summer, and they put two of the people they're playing all three of them, just one of them not in central midfield, in James. But a very, very physical midfield selection from Carlo Ancelotti.
Yeah, again, like I was saying, this has kind of been Carlo. He has not changed his side much, if at all, over the first 5 games at this point. I think it is match week 5.
And given that they hadn't lost, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess, right?
Exactly. So obviously you said Decore and Allen coming in, 2 great signings, really strengthen up that midfield, and that last spot's really kind of up for grabs. And I think Ancelotti's really liking Andrea Gomez in that position over, let's say, Sigurdsson or Fabian Delph, because he's offering a little bit of a defensive kind of tracking back than maybe a Sigurdsson would in that case. Fabian Delph has actually been known to do that good tracking back. I think
he's more tenacious than both of them. So and it seemed like he wanted more energy and in that regard in his midfield given the selection. So very interesting decision, I would say. And when I was looking at these two lineups going against each other, I was just kind of looking, when you have a lineup like this where they both have 4-3-3s, we can very easily pit them up against each other and say who is the advantage in what part of the pitch, right? So we can say that Liverpool have the advantage in fullbacks and wingers, right? Because I got to say Alexander-Arnold and Robertson kind of are slightly, ever so slightly better than Lucas Digne and Seamus Coleman, if I can say that myself.
I don't think that's a ridiculous statement. I think Seamus Coleman is getting older, which is why he's still a lockdown defender.
Right.
Seamus Coleman. And Luca Digne, I think, is one of the best up and coming left backs in the league.
And I don't want it to sound like I'm disrespecting either of them, because I rate them too.
But I still agree with you.
There's levels here, right? There's levels here, right? So Liverpool definitely have the advantage, at least at fullback. And then if we're looking at their forwards, I'm sorry, but Salah and Mane, especially when you're playing James at right wing, like it's just no. And Richarlison, I feel like he is just being fit into the lineup at this point, because I see him as a proper striker, and he's kind of just being fit into the team as a left winger.
Do you want me to give my opinion on Richarlison right now, or
Yeah, go on.
just
I mean, you can give it now. You can give it at the end of the game when we
give
talk.
it at the end of the game? I mean, I do not rate him.
Yeah, I don't. I honestly don't either. So I mean, we'll talk about it. Yeah. So I mean, Liverpool have the advantage in fullbacks and wingers. I would say the midfield is more of a dead heat, but maybe advantaged slightly to Liverpool. Because I rate Alan and Decore and Gomez as a unit together. That's a very tough midfield to break down. But at the same time, you've got a world class player in Thiago. Fabinho was has been lights out. And Henderson, of course, winning the Premier League. What was it, Player of the Year last season or whatever it was, one of those awards last season. So no slouch in the midfield either. So I give advantage slightly to Liverpool. Obviously, Liverpool at the advantage of center back. So really, the only advantage that I would be willing to give Everton would be at center forward.
Oh, I was gonna say keeper. I was like, oh wow.
and it would only be on form, because I would say that Dominic Calvert-Lewin is more in form than Roberto Firmino at the moment. I don't think
in terms of goal scoring, I agree with you.
Exactly. Yes, and purely in terms of goal scoring. So personally, I had Liverpool going into this one, even though Everton was top of the table. My suspicions appeared to have been confirmed in just the second minute with Liverpool's winger and fullback advantage creating the chance for 1-0. Salah, of course, drifting a little bit centrally. He does a 1-2 with Firmino. Robertson, of course, bombing forward. We know Liverpool fullbacks like to bomb forward. He darts past Seamus Coleman into the box, fires it laterally for Mane, and he slams it leaning back into the roof of the net, 1-0. Everton had to have been crapping their pants at that point. I mean, they're like, here we go again. We thought we had a good team this year, and 2 minutes into the Merseyside Derby, we find ourselves down 1-0.
So yeah, I mean, you would say that, right? Because I would be shocked if I went down 2-0 like early in the game like that. But that being said, I really think Carlo Ancelotti has instilled a belief into these players that there was no panic down 1-0 that early into the game.
That's true. They weren't panicking, but they also couldn't get hold of the ball because Liverpool's passing was just that good. They did not give the ball away. Even aerial long balls, crosses, whatever it was all coming off for them early in the game. In the fourth minute, Henderson nearly doubled their advantage with a header from, I think it was another Robertson cross. It was blocked by Luca Digne. Then Robertson takes a corner. And on this ensuing corner, Paul, we have some talking points that I want to pause and discuss. On the ensuing corner, Robertson plays the cross in, it's headed out to Fabinho outside the box. He lobs the ball into Virgil van Dijk, who is on the shoulder of the last defender, and he appears free on the back post. Right as he is about to fire the ball in for 2-0, Jordan Pickford, who had read the situation quickly, came out to get the ball, missed the ball, and clattered Virgil van Dijk, appearing to injure his leg. He was in visible agony sitting there on the turf. Paul, in your opinion, when you first saw it, before you saw any of the VAR, what the VAR was referring to, when you just saw the replay vanilla, what was your reaction?
Red card. Absolutely.
Red card penalty, right?
Yeah, plain and simple. Red card penalty. It's such a poor. You said Jordan Pickford read it quickly. Jordan Pickford read it poorly too.
He read it quickly, but I think he read it properly, but I think his execution was quite poor.
First of all, going in with the legs, I don't know if that's the wrong choice. I'm not an expert on the goalkeeping, so I don't want to say like you shouldn't be going in like that. But I also feel that you should slightly know, like, in the box with that kind of risk, it's just such a poor call from Pickford. He gets let off. It's such a let off. I would have been straight red card for me. Penalty Liverpool. 2-0 Liverpool. 2-0. In the first 4 minutes.
And the fact that the reason, of course, that VAR didn't go back and check this is because it was deemed that Virgil van Dijk, when he was on the shoulder of the last defender, was in fact behind the shoulder of the last defender. He was offside. And I wanted to kind of just discuss this very quickly with you. What do you think about that? That Virgil van Dijk, as a result of standing probably maybe an inch off the last defender, I don't think Jordan Pickford knew this going into the challenge that Virgil van Dijk was offside. That Virgil van Dijk is no longer protected by the laws of the game because he was standing an inch offside. Because of course, Michael Oliver somehow doesn't, award any kind of foul for this. Maybe perhaps because the ruling was offside. VAR goes back and takes a look at it, determines he is offside, and then determines that they can't review anything that happened after that because he's offside. It's almost like if you're offside, the rest of the rules don't apply. The rest of the protections that are afforded to the rest of the players on the pitch don't apply to you. What is your opinion on this? Because we're going to talk about this a little bit later in the game, or a little bit later in the show, and in the other game, because a similar kind of thing happened.
No, I was laughing so hard when I saw it happen. Look, for the offsides thing, okay, and we're gonna get to you can't be a little bit pregnant later on in the show, okay? He's offsides for me, right? He's offsides. There's no doubt in my mind that Virgil van Dijk is offsides in that, okay?
Right.
If Jordan Pickford goes up to Virgil van Dijk and punches him in the face in that moment,
Nothing.
he's still getting a red card, right? No, you would, because that's just like sport, but like,
and that's kind of where I'm coming from here. Is like, it appears the interpretation that VAR took was that in the play stops being valid as soon as the offsides occurs, right? So anything that happens thereafter is null and void. But that doesn't give you license to just clatter into people like that. Like, surely there must be something against that. Because, like you said, otherwise you could just go and deck somebody because you knew they were offside, and then be like, "Oh, part of the play, you can't red card me because he was offside. Therefore, you can't VAR that." Woo. So I mean, I'm kind of worried. Like, are there players who might take advantage of this? Like, it's like we know there's some interesting hot-headed characters out there. So I mean, we'll see if we see more instances like this. But very, very, very sad in my opinion. As much there's no love lost between me and Liverpool, but very, very sad.
Yeah, especially because it does come back that Virgil van Dijk does have to get surgery on his knee and will most likely be out, I think, for most of the season. If they get far enough in the Champions League, that might be the only time we see him back this season.
Yeah, I think
very sad.
I think he will probably be out for the season. And in knee injuries like that, I mean, thank goodness he doesn't rely solely on his pace for his quality. But with knee injuries like that, I mean, we can only hope and pray that like he comes back the same, because
he's jumping up and down too, though. Like that.
I mean,
that
he
takes
walked
pressure
it
on
off.
the knees. You're right. Well, yeah, that's the dangerous thing with those ACL and MCL. Like, you can still walk with them, and it is bad, man.
I was shocked. I was like, wow, he's walking. Then I found out he had an ACL, and I was like, wow. That was very, 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 very interesting. But not to worry, Paul.
Yeah.
Somebody from Everton will be sent off before the game is up.
Oh yeah. Not soon enough. Wasted enough chances before that too.
Finally, while Virgil van Dijk's situation was being sorted out, Everton were able to finally gain some possession, build themselves back into the game, really showing that James was key to Everton's creativity. Every good move that Everton had contained a James Rodriguez key pass somewhere inside of it, whether it was directly to the forward or out to a wide player who crossed it to a forward. James Rodriguez seemed like he was integral to everything Everton was doing. I think he's really been their X factor this season, and a big reason why, even with the same manager, they're doing a lot better offensively this year.
Yeah, so I think too. We're getting a real tactical here for a second. I'm gonna give you a little something here. So we've been asking about why James Rodriguez has been playing that winger role, and he has been cutting into a little bit more of a central role. But why does he stay out on that side? Well, we have to look at how Everton's decided to play this season, right? Lucas Digne's bombing down the opposite side, right, for pretty much every play, fullback. And then we talked about Richarlison not being a left winger, right? He's more of a central striker, and he does very many times find himself in that kind of, they're almost playing two up front with Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, right?
Richarlison, yeah.
So while James Rodriguez is out on that right side, he's still playing that crucial playmaking role that a number 10 would play
Yeah,
by
linking the defensive midfield players with the forwards, yeah.
exactly by getting it to their big man in the middle, right? Calvert-Lewin, dangerous in the air. We know that. We see it later this game, right? So that's those crosses in from James, getting it to Richarlison on that right-hand side, right? Passing it, those little runs. Or as we see, wasn't this play, right? But it was the following play where they score on with Lucas Digne. They get it out to Lucas Digne, and he's just putting in crosses, Robertson style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and we'll get to that. And that's why I said not just playing in the forwards, but also playing in the other wide players who play in the forwards. So exactly. Everywhere in there, James Rodriguez very key. And it's very nice to see him thriving in the Premier League because, I feel like he's been kind of a forgotten man the last couple seasons a little bit. So it's been nice to see him getting the credit that he deserves because I like him. Speaking of James Rodriguez in the 19th minute, his quality not only coming from open play, also on set pieces. James Rodriguez corner, he's an assist machine. Michael Keane, former Manchester United defender, just want to point that out. Really? Beautiful jump over Fabinho. Adrian can't keep out the bullet header, goes through his hands, and you gotta wonder if Virgil van Dijk's aerial presence was missing there a little bit.
I was literally in my notes.
Gotta wonder.
They took advantage of not having Virgil van Dijk there. I think not a goal if Virgil van Dijk's in the mix.
Yeah, because I think he'll fight tooth and nail to win that one. But unfortunately,
I agree.
For Liverpool, Michael Keane jumps way higher than everybody else, wins the ball high in the air, and equalizes for 1-1. Trent Alexander-Arnold, free kicks. That man's a problem. He's a problem. I would argue that I'd be more worried about him taking the free kick than Kevin De Bruyne, but that's a little bit like saying that I'm more worried about being shot than stabbed. You kind of don't want either. Like you'd rather just not have neither of them taking free kicks, but if you had to be more worried about one of them, I think Trent Alexander-Arnold is a more lethal free kick taker just because he had several opportunities this game and every single one of them was just a few inches away from sensationally finding the top corner.
He's forcing Pickford into some dangerous saves, and the first one that's really just like an incredible save from Pickford. You're right, dude. I don't know the exact stats. I don't know what his conversion
this is purely
rate of
anecdotal.
Free kicks are, right? Yeah, exactly. This is just something we're witnessing happen in front of us, right?
Yeah.
And I'm about to criticize Trent Alexander-Arnold here in a second, but the most consistent part of his game continues to be those free kicks and those crosses. Okay, but other than that, we're gonna talk here in a second.
Before we talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold, let's talk about his opposite number on his team. Andrew Robertson. You could really see, and this was one of the things that you notice when you notice the same players ending up in the same positions and finding the same spaces, that this has been drilled in training, especially for this particular game, that they were going to exploit Seamus Coleman in particular. So you see the Liverpool's wide players drifting a little bit more centrally, right? And what that does is confuses the fullbacks, right? Because the fullbacks traditionally are designed to mark the wingers, right? If you want to mark the other team's fullbacks, your wide players have to come back and perform that duty. That's what they're supposed to be doing. Now, obviously, we said on that right-hand side for Everton, James Rodriguez, even if he did track back, he would be so far behind where he should be. He'd be way out of position, even though he can play those long passes. So Seamus Coleman wasn't getting as much help as he may have gotten from a pacier natural winger, right? So they knew they were going to be able to isolate Seamus Coleman and confuse him by making him mark their fullback, Robertson. And so what that did was Robertson consistently ended up in that left wing position, and he was putting in cross after cross after cross, slightly cut back for whichever Liverpool wide player or forward was standing just left of the penalty spot. It's how Mane scored his first goal, and I counted 1, 2, 3 more. The 30th minute, the 33rd minute, and I think I didn't write down the last one. It may have been the 36th minute. There were 3 separate occasions where I noticed the exact same pattern of play designed to overload the Everton's right back, Seamus Coleman, and have an attacker waiting in the box to have an easy goal. And so it was very, very impressive strategy. Unfortunately, it only came off the one time for Liverpool, but it was a very interesting tactical nuance that I saw. So that was cool.
Well, I think to your point, Rahul, Seamus Coleman gets subbed off real early.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they brought in a Godfrey.
Ben Godfrey, yeah.
Yes, and they continue to exploit him as well.
Yes. Well, he's young. He's a little younger, right?
Well,
they
just signed him from Norwich, I think.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Good know.
Yeah.
But so to your point, they take him off, right? And later on in the game, which is probably why it stopped being a little less, more to your point, why it stopped being a little less, what's the word, efficient. Alex Iwobi comes in, and he is definitely that player that will track back
and provide that exactly. So let's see, where do we want to go?
Tracking back. Let's talk tracking back here, because if you don't track back, you leave yourself open on a counter attack, Rahul. And we've talked about Liverpool's wingers or fullbacks getting up too high up the pitch to be good defenders. You like that? You like that? So Trent Alexander-Arnold getting cooked by Lucas Digne for Everton's goal.
Yeah.
Everton goal.
Skipping a little ahead, Paul. Skipping a little ahead.
No, all right, fair enough.
Skipping ahead of Liverpool's goal. I mean, we don't have to go chronological order. I like you calling him out. I'll call him out again because we like calling out Trent Alexander-Arnold for his defensive frailties. He is like a what did they call him? I've heard him called like a kitchen apron. He's just wide open at the back.
Okay, I like that.
So,
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about Mo Salah's goal.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we gotta give a little bit more credit to Liverpool before we crap on him. Coming up.
Just Trent Alexander-Arnold. I promise.
Yeah. Liverpool had changed their strategy a little bit for me. So instead of going with that pattern of play, and I think you're right, that was after the introduction of the Alex Iwobi change and Everton, kind of growing back into the game, searching for their goal. They started to change it up, and they said, you know what? Enough of this midfield crap. We're not going to play through the middle anymore. We're just going to send our midfielders wide and play around you. And so we're just going to play super wide, force you guys to spread out and create a bunch of space. And that's exactly what they did. The midfielders drifted wide. The likes Jordan Henderson drifting wide to the right, getting the ball, whips across in. Yerry Mina otherwise had, I think, a pretty decent game. But he heads the cross out straight to Mo Salah. And Salah goes, well, I'm unmarked in the box with the ball at my feet. What am I going to do, Paul? What am I going to do? Well, what does a guy like me to do? I'm Mo Salah. What does a guy like me to do? I find myself the proclaimed Egyptian king, standing there in the box of our most hated local rivals. God bless you. What am I to do?
You are to use your beautiful left foot and to tuck that ball into the net.
On the volley.
That's what you do. On the volley. First time
finish. Brilliant goal. It was. I feel like as of late, Salah has been receiving a little bit less credit than he did a couple seasons ago, and I don't know why. But he's still a world-class player, and I think it's because Liverpool as a team plays so well that we don't single out their forwards because as a team everybody contributes. But Mo Salah is still one bad man. He's a bad man.
Oh, yeah.
And he will punish you if you leave him unmarked like that. So Poor clearance, Mo Salah, 2-1, 72nd minute. So now Liverpool have the advantage. They start to try and make the most of their counterattacks. Set piece. They score off of set pieces, but otherwise try and shut it and lock it down. Joel Matip almost scored off of a free header, 76th minute. Jordan Pickford made a diving save to keep that one out. And in the 80th minute, Paul, arriving at the point that you wanted to make earlier, James, as we were saying earlier, plays Lucas Digne in on down left-hand side. And as him being the wonderful fullback he is, what does he do, Paul? What does a guy like him to do? He finds himself unmarked left. I mean, he's absolutely rinsed that joke of a defensive performance from Trent Alexander-Arnold. I mean, he's rinsed him. He's rinsed him. I mean, defensively, Trent Alexander-Arnold is terrible. So he's rinsed him. He's gone and rinsed him, just like you would rinse out old pasta off a dinner plate. In fact, that's how he rinsed him. So he whips. What does he do? He whips a cross in.
Yeah, whips a cross in, and lo and behold, in the time of this game, Everton had signed Cristiano Ronaldo. Oh no, wait, it wasn't Cristiano Ronaldo. It was Dominic Calvert-Lewin putting his best Cristiano Ronaldo impression to the test.
Paul, just stop here for a second. I just need to clarify. Are we now saying that? Or sorry, not we, because I would never make an assertion like this. Are you now saying that Dominic Calvert-Lewin is the English Cristiano Ronaldo? Is that what you were asserting tonight here on this week's episode of Cheeky Chip Chat?
Has the man bun going? No, I don't.
I noticed that when I was playing FIFA. It looked really weird. I was like, bro, what are you doing? What are you doing? He shaved his head now. He's bald.
He did shave his head. He is fairly bald now. It's what happens when you get COVID.
Poor man.
I call him as I see him. Bro, I can't. I can't. No. What he did what Ronaldo does, where we talked last week or whenever we talked about Juventus, where he just floats up in the air for a hot second.
Mm-hmm.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin put in a 10th goal of the season, I believe it is.
To quote a wonderful musical, he just basically said, "I think I'll try defying gravity," and he reached on up there, and he headed that ball right back from not quite back where it came from, but in the general direction of where it came from, back across goal. Adrian absolutely hopeless to save it. 2-2. Again, we are left to wonder. Virgil van Dijk, could he have had an impact on that aerial goal, given that they conceded 2 aerial?
Probably.
We conceded 2 aerial goals, and I was like, well, you know who's not playing? The guy who wins everything in the air.
Virgil van Dijk, yeah, man.
It's very unfortunate that he went out the way he did, but
I thought Everton, not Everton. I thought Liverpool had it back there at the very, very end.
Yeah. That's where we're going right next. But before we do,
wow, we just
Sadio Mane. What you see? You keep jumping ahead, man. Sadio Mane loses out in an aerial challenge to Yerry Mina.
Oh yeah,
and then Thiago and the aforementioned Richarlison. He's Brazilian. He only costs something million, and we think he's something brilliant. I know what the something is, but I won't say it. Richarlison. So he goes in, 2-footed, and studs up straight into the leg of Thiago. Really could have broken his leg there. He really could have broken it. So I'm glad he didn't. But Michael Oliver, straight into the pocket. Red card, unquestionable.
Yeah, call it as you see it. That's a red card any day. It's like Charleston rolls around like a bum there for a little bit too long, especially because he's the culprit.
He's the one who did it. It's like, I hurt myself sliding and studs up on Thiago. Please have sympathy.
Kind of hurts his cause even more in a way. Like it makes him just looks just like pitiful after that. Yeah. Everton have a question at hand at whether or not Richarlison is the player they need him to be, and should they be looking to go somewhere
You
else,
know,
a different
he
direction?
every game here and there, or maybe even 2, 3 games here and there, he'll have, like I said, he'll have 2, 3 games where he's brilliant, scoring brilliant goals, positioning fantastic, linking up well with everybody else. And he plays really well, and you're like, wow, this is finally it. And then he'll go like, I mean, again, I don't watch Everton week in and week out, so correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody who knows, but from what I've at least anecdotally seen, he just goes far too long in spells where he's just too inconsistent. And in these big games, you need to have players who step up, and I don't think he did in this game. And he really almost ended up costing his team, because for the following 5 minutes after that, Everton were really under the cosh with that red card. And in fact, they almost conceded the equalizer, Paul, if you'd like to go through the sequence in the 92nd minute.
Sure, absolutely. The ball arrives at Thiago's feet, and as we know, he is a masterclass passer. Okay, even though some people don't think that, Rahul. I don't know why. I think they. I don't know. Do you think that? Right? You
I
think he's
think
a good
that. I
passer? Right?
think that.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think that he. It's frightening to think that Liverpool won the league by as much as they did last season without Thiago, because he's like the engine in that midfield. He makes it tick, and so it's like, how did they win by so many points without him, and now they have him? So I mean, we'll see. We'll see how much of a difference he makes, but yeah.
Yeah, so he kind of almost. I think it was a no look pass, right? No look pass puts Mane in.
Can I just say beforehand, it's a similar ball to the one that Robertson was playing in the entire game. This whole play is very, very similar.
Yeah, it's a classic Liverpool play. It's just who gets opened up on that left hand side, right? So Thiago puts in this almost no look pass, or was a no look pass to Mane, puts Mane in past the Everton defense, puts the ball back, and lo and behold, who's there? The exact person you want in the box. No, I'm just joking. But Jordan Henderson is there, and he puts it away. And we're like, whoa, Liverpool win the Merseyside Derby, 92nd minute or whatever it is, 90th minute, right? Everyone's going crazy. But no, it is not to be, Rahul. It is not to be. The VAR gods intervene.
I don't want to laugh. I will admit I laughed when it happened, but I don't want to laugh here tonight on this show, because I know the second I do, I'm gonna get karma. So I'm not gonna laugh, but I got to admit that was hilarious. Like I mean, these poor guys played their butts off. Tactics were sound. Everything. I mean, they should have won. They probably should have won this game. The amount of chances that they created, the quality of chances they created, they were unjustly lost their best player, and ended up being, only found that out later on, but it ended up being probably for the season. They could have gotten something out of this game right at the end, and probably by the width of a hair on the defender's crack, they don't get it.
Yeah, Mane's offsides.
He's offside. I mean, it's the rule. He's marginally offside, but he's offside. So that's that. It is what it is. I said I wouldn't laugh. 2-2 at Goodison Park.
Better point. So this is how big that offsides call is, right? That is absolutely a better point for Everton than it is for Liverpool, given their current position in the table.
Oh, I completely agree. And depending on how many points Everton expect to pick up against the top six, that's a big point. So,
could be crucial.
Yeah.
Could be crucial.
Because you can't, whatever you do, you cannot go losing your home fixtures. You can sometimes afford to draw them, but you cannot afford to lose them. So given that they didn't lose to the reigning champions, it's quite good. Quite good.
Let's talk about. You want to talk about the home fixture of all home fixtures?
Sure. Given that I was struggling. This is why I called it just the Milan Derby on here, because I didn't know whether to call it Inter Milan versus AC Milan or AC Milan versus Inter Milan, because I didn't know which one of them had the home fixture. Normally, I just look at what stadium it's in. But Paul, in this particular case, that does not work.
Technically, Inter was the home side in this game.
Aha. Okay.
But
I mean, I could have just looked it up, but I didn't. I just didn't.
Yeah. Technically Inter home side in this game, but because of the specific circumstances that Milan plays under, for those who don't know, they share a stadium, Lakers Clippers style. Except for both of them are great instead of the no, just joking, everyone calm down.
You're gonna
But
trigger a
yeah,
lot of people.
I know. So yeah, they play at the famous stadium of the San Siro in Milan, Italy, and we have one really good side and one up and coming, a little trying to get back some of its old glory, right? In AC Milan and Inter Milan. And that's where we set this up, bro. That's where we set this up.
Thank you. We're not going to go nearly as deep into this one just because we spent a ton of time on the Merseyside Derby, but we'll talk a little bit about the goals, a few of the performances that were notable, and a few of the general things that happened in this game. So, starting off, Alexander Kolarov, former Manchester City player. I don't like this guy because he's played for Manchester City, but that's just my bias. He initially doesn't foul Zlatan Ibrahimovic, but the Swede draws the foul in the box, and he is gifted a penalty. Of course, Samir Handanovic, being the lovely keeper for Inter Milan that he is, very, very, very underrated goalkeeper in my opinion. Excuse me.
You think he's underrated?
I think he's underrated in the conversation of best goalkeepers.
Okay.
You rarely ever see that Samir Handanovic is in the top 3 goalkeepers in the world, even though I think he arguably has the ability to be up there.
Fair enough.
But he initially saves Zlatan's penalty, but Zlatan, being the guy that he is, the big, strong man, goes and bundles it in anyway for 1-0 off the deflection. Unfortunately for Handanovic, unable to keep it out. So that's 1-0 to AC Milan. A little bit later, Rafael Leao. We talked about him in a few of the games that we covered last season on Cheeky Chip Chat when we covered AC Milan. He had an okay season last year in Serie A, 6 goals, 2 assists. But he's playing much, much, much better this year. Last week in AC Milan's last game, he had 2 goals. So now he has 2 goals this season, which is a third of last season's total already, which is quite good at this point of the season. And he has 1 assist, the one that he just drew up for Zlatan. He gets played in wide left, and he plays in one of the most beautiful ground crosses I have ever seen into the path of Zlatan Ibrahimovic in stride. He doesn't even have to adjust himself. It's just the natural movement of his foot finishes it into the empty part of the net at the back post for 2-0.
Yeah, Kolarov sleeping a little bit again, I felt on that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because he's the one in the middle of the box at that moment. But yeah, I thought AC Milan did an excellent job spreading Inter Milan out. And that's what opens up Zlatan to do what Zlatan does, even
Creating
at the
space
age
in the
of...
middle. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Creating space and just like chances. Because he's so big, he holds the ball up so well, and he can really create chances. Similar to Lukaku in a way. I don't think Lukaku's ever going to be as prolific as Zlatan, obviously, but Lukaku, when he uses his size to his advantage, is just a deadly, deadly striker. And we see it at the very end of this game with the back heel that doesn't get off, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you spread Inter out, and I don't know why Inter was spread out so much. Probably because of the 3-4-3 that they're playing, or the 3-1-4-2, whatever.
I think AC Milan
right?
did a good job of breaking on them, and that's what opened the space. Because typically, you're right, Inter's not that open. It's actually the point of that formation is exactly the opposite. You are correct.
So to that point, I think we have to be careful.
Y'all good there?
Yeah. I want to see how Hakimi changes this side in that exact, because you're right. This specific formation is supposed to be more defensive, but if Hakimi's always going to be moving up like a left winger, it's going to leave them open. It's going to leave them open for Leao or whoever to bomb down that side, and lo and behold, Zlatan gets number 2 of his Milan Derby.
Yep. Yeah, he scored a brace in this game. Alexander Kolarov does redeem himself a few minutes later, playing in Ivan Perisic with his trademark byline run. He plays a beautiful ball right across the face of goal to a waiting Romelu Lukaku at the back post, who finishes it 2-1. All of this happened within the first 30 minutes of the game. There were no more goals. However, I do want to talk a little bit about Hakimi and Lukaku, because Hakimi, I want to give him credit and say that he showed that he's very dangerous using his pace. creating tons of chances for the rest of his team. Great balls in, great opportunities created, but unfortunately no dice for the rest of the game. And that's what I got to say. Lukaku, he's been playing real well for Inter Milan. I think he fits that system much better. And it's just unfortunate that something about Romelu Lukaku is when he is not on his game, he is one of the most frustrating number 9s in the world to watch, because when he's not on his game, he will miss everything. And he missed some bad ones, in my opinion.
He did.
I think he should have. I think he probably should have had a hat trick in this game. Yeah, I mean, we can talk a little bit about how he almost won a penalty, but he was in an offside position, and similarly to how Virgil van Dijk didn't win a penalty for Liverpool when he got taken out. And it's actually the same thing that happened, right? Handanovic came in, sorry, not Handanovic. Donnarumma came in and took him out. The same thing happened, and so they initially called a penalty, and then VAR reviewed it and they said, "No, you're offside." Paul, your thoughts? Any different? Because we were just talking about how play should be dead, no foul, no red card, all that kind of stuff. Same kind of situation here.
Yeah, not as egregious of a tackle as Pickford on Van Dijk, obviously, right? But I think what the right call is here, and I think this is what they did wrong in the Premier League, is the right call is the red card first, right? Because they give the red card first immediately, right? It's clear penalty, right? And then they go back and look whether or not it was offsides, right? Michael Oliver was the
referee,
Premier League ref, right? Does not give the initial red card on Pickford, right? Because can't remember if it's the flag right away, but that's why I think, look, it gets called back, right? Because he's offsides, and he's rightfully offside. But I think the right call in that moment is giving the red first immediately.
Agreed.
And then going back and seeing whether or not it should be a red card.
No, I agree, because foul play is foul play, regardless of whether he was offside. Foul play is foul play. And there's no way the player, I mean, especially if the refs are being told to keep their flags down, the players don't know that. So if you're going in at any point recklessly endangering your opponent, you deserve a red card. And so that should be the first thing. And then we go in and sort out whether or not it's a penalty based on the offsides rule. So I agree with you on that one. And hopefully that's how they start to legislate, although I don't know if that's necessarily what is in the laws of the game. But we will certainly see if there are more incidents like that, like this come up.
Sorry, and I want to clarify, Donnarumma did not get a red card, but he called the penalty right, which was not what happened.
It was not a reckless endangerment tackle. No.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's gonna do it for the Milan Derby. Paul, do you want to quickly run down our European tour? Just run down some Champions League results, and then I know you wanted to cover something before we closed.
Yeah, let's do it. Did you want to cover a specific game in Champions League?
I mean, of course, I'm going to call out a particular game, but let's just go down the scores, and maybe we'll throw in some predictions.
You can do that.
About the groups.
Yeah.
Let me just pull the groups up here.
Sure.
Give me a second. Most surprising results of the first round of the group stages, Paul.
Sure. Lazio 3-1 against Dortmund. Shocking. Though I will say Ciro Immobile plays for them, right?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, and he scored in this game. But so he was a prolific striker in Serie A last season. He continues his fine form. So maybe not the most surprising. The most surprising, Rahul, I think we can both agree, right? Is it? This not Shakhtar, is it?
Shakhtar.
Yeah, Shakhtar Donetsk. Yeah, Shakhtar Donetsk.
It's got to be Shakhtar, man.
Home. Madrid's at home, even though they're not playing in the Bernabeu. They're playing in their practice stadium or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But Shakhtar Donetsk pulling out a 3-2 victory against Real Madrid at home. Not looking good. That's 2 games in a row that Madrid has lost. And I don't know if you know this, Rahul, they got a pretty big game next week that I think we're going to cover.
Yeah. I mean, it's in just a couple of days, and we will of course be covering that particular game. We'll of course inform you all of what that is at the end of the show. We will of course be covering that game on next week's episode of Cheeky Chip Chat. Tune in then to hear us talk about it. So let's go down the line. Club Brugge beating Zenit. I think Zenit has a little bit more Champions League pedigree than Club Brugge, so I guess that is a little bit surprising. But I mean, incredibly familiar with either of those teams to say whether that is a surprising result. Juventus beating Dynamo Kiev 2-0. Expected, I think.
Sure.
Expected.
Yep.
RB Leipzig beating Istanbul Basaksehir. Shehir?
Istanbul.
I
Yep.
did my best.
Yeah, I
2-0.
understand.
Probably an expected result, I'd say. Rennes tying with Krasnodar. Again, not really not too familiar. So I can say a draw is probably a fair result. I'm not too familiar. Lazio beating Dortmund 3-1. Like you said, very, very interesting. An interesting result. Lazio, of course, almost winning Serie A last year, so perhaps not the most surprising, but interesting to see Dortmund going down so easily in that one. Chelsea-Sevilla, 0-0. Looks like Sevilla are still parking the bus in European competitions, but that's not me. I'm not salty. And Chelsea, for all their attacking firepower, didn't score a goal, which is very interesting.
More to your Frank point, I guess, right?
Barcelona versus Ferencvaros?
Yeah. Ferencvaros. Yeah. Ferencvaros.
Yeah. It's probably an expected thrashing. RB Salzburg, Lokomotiv Moscow, two teams that are typically in the Champions League, so a 2-2 sounds fair. Of course, we mentioned Shakhtar Donetsk taking down Real Madrid 3-2. Paul, I know you see I skipped the game. I did not skip it. I skipped it on purpose.
We'll get back. We'll get back to
it. Liverpool beating Ajax 1-0. In this one, the talking point I wanted to bring up was Fabinho apparently injuring one of Ajax's players, Mohamed. What was
Kudus?
Something like that, yeah. And he's out for 3 months. So there's some people who are saying Liverpool fans are, calling for Jordan Pickford to be banned as long as Virgil van Dijk's out. But will they call for Fabinho to be out as long as this guy's out? But that's all just fanfare. But unfortunate. Man City beating Paul. I know we said don't sleep on Porto, but I got to say that's an expected result. Manchester City 3, Porto 1.
It was Porto scored first. I just want to bring it out there.
And then they conceded 3 goals.
Yeah, all right. Calm down.
Midtjylland, famously, at least in Manchester United fans' minds, for being the team that Marcus Rashford, MBE, by the way, scored his debut goals against, his first ever senior goal scored against Midtjylland in a comeback victory to send us through to the next round of the Europa League a few years ago. Beaten, I know, and then we lost to Liverpool. It was really awful. Atalanta, of course, continuing their great form from last season, beating them 4-0. Olympiacos beating Marseille, an interesting one. Very interesting. I'd probably put that in the category of upset.
Yeah, unfortunately, Olympiacos is a classic upset team.
Yes, I know. They've knocked United out of the Champions League before.
They've knocked Arsenal out of the Champions League too many a times, all the time.
It's a very annoying Greek team to play. It's fine. Bayern Munich thrashing Atletico Madrid. I wouldn't say that's an upset, but I would say the magnitude of that defeat is quite surprising.
Against the Simeone team.
Against the Simeone team, exactly. Conceding 4 goals. In fact, I saw a meme from Fox Soccer saying that Luis Suarez's last 2 games against Bayern Munich have gone quite poorly, given that he was part of Barcelona when they lost 8-2, and then now he just lost 4-0. So pretty great. That's a differential of -10, Paul. Have you ever supported a team that lost to Bayern Munich by 10 goals?
Yes. Not consecutively, but yes.
And Inter Milan drawing with Mönchengladbach 2-2. An interesting result.
Good draw for Gladbach.
Yes.
Good draw for Gladbach.
Yes, I would certainly say so. And finally, Paul, Manchester United defeating PSG 2-1 in the Parc des Princes.
Put the contract in front of him. Any number he wants.
Any number they want.
Always at the wheel. Manchester United's back, baby.
Feeling good, man. Feeling good. Axel Tuanzebe, Aaron Wan-Bissaka putting in that shutdown performance on Neymar Mbappe. Woo! I'm not going to say that because it's going to come back and bite me. So I won't say that. I retract that statement. But they were shut down thoroughly. in this game, which was quite nice to see. And of course, the aforementioned Marcus Rashford, MBE. I'm going to say that every time I mention Marcus
You have
Rashford,
to. It's part
MBE,
of
by
it.
the way.
It's like Sir.
He's not quite a Sir yet. He hasn't been
I
knighted
know,
yet.
but I'm
Yeah,
saying
he's
it's like
part of
Sir.
the.
We have to.
He's
we
on
have to
his way.
mention it.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. He's on his way. He's now a member of the British Empire, which is great. MBE, fantastic in his campaign to feed the kids. That's why he got his MBE. And Marcus Rashford. Did you know he's an MBE? He scored a he scored a goal in the, I think it was the 87th minute, to put United ahead 2-1. I was honestly livid with him, and I was ready to. I think I wrote in our chat. I think I wrote that I was like, can he just swim back to Manchester? And then he scored, and I was like, no, let him on the plane, let him on the plane. So yeah, it was a good performance. A little bit of deja vu there for PSG fans, but great for us to see. Good start for Man United in the Champions League.
Yeah. And who scored those goals? Who scored that goal again? One more time. Just give it to me one more time.
Marcus Rashford, MBE.
Nice. And for all our American listeners out there, that's like the Presidential Medal of Freedom ish, kind of.
Well,
Yeah.
probably somewhere in there. Okay, Paul.
All right.
You want a little bit of time to discuss something that was near and dear to your heart. You've given me plenty of time to rant about United on this show, so I'm more than happy. The floor is yours.
I appreciate it, and
The
I
floor
want
is
everyone
yours.
to know I'm wearing my Arsenal because I love me some Arsenal. But before I get into this, I want everyone to know Mesut Ozil is one of my favorite players to watch. I'm a big Germany fan, a big Arsenal fan. It just makes sense that he was like my favorite player. So the way that he's been treated recently, the big news coming out this week, Rahul, that Mesut Ozil has been left off the 25-man roster for Arsenal in the EPL. Now, that's big. He's our top earner, makes about $350K a week. It's a lot of money. And secondly, he's still, in many people's eyes, a world-class player. A couple weeks ago, got left off the Europa League squad. We were all kind of expecting it to go downhill from there. So I went on this little rant the other day on Twitter. Follow me at Cheeky Paul, everyone. Okay. About just the way that he's been treated. Now, I'll go ahead and pull it up because I want to have some talking points here. But there were some big issues with me, just the way that Mesut Ozil, this whole situation has gone down. Okay. So to start off, okay, I can acknowledge, Rahul, that Mesut Ozil has declined in talent and skill. Okay. He's getting older. He is not the World Cup winner Mesut Ozil was way back at the beginning of this. So I understand. But has he fallen to the point where he's not even a sub for Arsenal? I don't think it's that bad, right? And I usually take the club's side on these things. Okay, I took the club's side on the Pogba Jose Mourinho thing. I tend to feel that players acting out is just the wrong thing to do, but in this case, I think it's a little justified. So,
Unjustified, you mean?
unjustified. Yeah, I think it's unjustified that he's getting left out. So the big argument is there's a few points to this that's kind of been building up. Okay, and I'm going to try to get through them as quickly as possible here because I don't want to bore anyone with the big details. But there are some things that people have been pointing to. Okay, it's dedication during practice, and maybe the fact that he does not track back as much as Mikel Arteta wants him to. And Mikel Arteta has come out saying this is purely a football decision, which I don't believe, but that's fine. Mikel Arteta, that's his job. He has to toe that company line in a way. Okay, he's manager. I'm not going to fault him for that at all. Right? In fact, he's probably done much more than I think any other manager would. He's taken all of the blame on himself. Right? But sure, Mesut Ozil probably is not the player that you're going to want to track back. And again, I'm not fighting for him to be in the starting 11. In fact, I don't think my Arsenal starting 11 right now would include Mesut Ozil. And I honestly say that. Okay. But again, I've seen some games where we were just lacking so much creativity in the last 30, 25 minutes that you're telling me Mesut Ozil, who's a world-class playmaker, can't make some difference. Okay. You know, it sometimes seems that in the last 30 minutes of games, all our creativity's gone out and we just like settle for the result, which is a very classic Arsenal thing to do, which I'll say that. But so I don't think it's his, tracking back that's the issue, okay? Because you can put him on for 25 minutes at the end of a game, okay? And he could do maybe not all the work you want him to, but possibly, he could try a little harder for instead of 60 minutes, 25 minutes, right? For sure. So I don't think it has anything to do with that. Then it comes down to him taking a pay cut. Okay. At the very beginning of this whole pandemic business, this was kind of a lot of people think this is really where it went wrong. Uh, Arsenal asked all the players to take a pay cut, and Mesut Ozil reportedly was like one of 3 players who refused to take the pay cut. Now, that did not sit well with the team, nor did it sit well with the board at Arsenal, as you could understand. But I want to make it clear for everyone that it's not that Mesut Ozil was against taking a pay cut. It was that he did not want to take a pay cut and then Arsenal use that pay cut in the incorrect manner. And I think he's been proven right in this because they, the big headline is they fired Gunnersaurus, right? Their mascot. I don't know if you knew that. I think we mentioned it, might have mentioned it 2 weeks ago, but Gunnersaurus, the mascot for Arsenal, got let off, got sacked, okay, because of the times. And I can guarantee you it's not just Gunnersaurus, right? He's just the big headline there, right? So that's kind of proven Mesut Ozil, well, we took these pay cuts so this would not happen, and then it's still happening. Okay, so we can't fault him too much there either. Okay. I know that a lot of people are saying that's the reason why Arsenal have dropped him from the squad. Okay. The real reason I think Arsenal have dropped him from the squad is the political side of things with Mesut Ozil. Okay. Now, he is a character where it divides opinion off. Okay. I'll put it that way. He is very close to the Turkish president, Erdogan. Um, and people do see the Turkish president as a sketchy character. I'm not going to comment on that because I'm going to comment on the China thing right here, right now, and that's already going to get us banned in a couple countries. So
be careful, Paul.
No, I won't do it. But so Ozil has more recently come out against China and their treatment of the Uyghur Muslims. I think closer to the Tibet region. I'm not exactly sure where it's all going down, but there's been
allegedly,
mistreatment, alleged mistreatment. You're right. Yeah. You're right. But of Uyghur Muslims, and we could understand why Mesut Ozil, who is himself Muslim and of Turkish descent, which was kind of the descent of the Uyghur Muslims as well, he speaks up. He's speaking up about this. Now, I want to make it clear he's not being like, "Hey, I don't think we should focus on Black Lives Matter" or anything like that. He's like, "Hey, in this spirit of we're talking about injustice, right? We should also bring up what's going on with these Muslims." Okay. And as we know, we've seen it with the NBA, we've seen it with other teams. China is a huge, huge market. Okay. It's a profit cow, right? And I think Arsenal and the board saw this, and possibly the Premier League saw this as well. And we're like, hey, this cannot go on. So the only way we can get rid of this is we're going to take Ozil's platform away from him. Okay. And I think, just kind of to wrap this up, he has shown that he is loyal to the club. Whether or not he's loyal to the board, that's a different thing. I think, especially when fans criticize the board, are they criticizing the club? No, we can make that distinction, right? So I think Ozil is still very shown he's very loyal to the club, Arsenal, and he wants to remain there. Okay. Yes, could he had opportunity to leave in the summer and said no? Yes, that's on him. I will give him that, right? That's on him. He did not choose the way out if he really wanted to play soccer. But I also expect some level of loyalty from the club and from the fans for all he's done for the club. And I think it's just a painful way to see a star go out. Yeah, that's really it. All I got to say.
It's well put. A lot of those points, I mean, I hadn't thought about, especially with the China thing and that whole part of it. I hadn't thought about that. Now, all I'll say is, I agree. I kind of want to crap on both of them, because if you're Arsenal, right, like you said, you're gonna tell me that you have a player under contract for whom you are paying 350. Correct me if I'm wrong on this number.
No, that's
350,000 British pounds per week, and you don't. And he's a quality player, at least if not in spots, and you can't find one spot for him out of, is it 25 players? 25 players on your Premier League roster. That's disgraceful management, personally.
I agree. That's why
if you aren't going to use him, then you work with him to try and move it on. Now, like you said, if he chose not to be moved on and refused to engage in any of that, then I have to say my sympathy for him is a little limited, not only because he's still being paid £350,000 a week, but also because you, like you said, you were given the opportunity to get out and you didn't take it. So now you can't then be mad when the club don't want to use you when they tried to get rid of you in the first place. So it's a tough situation. And I agree with you. It's really sucks to see, legends treated like that. But at the end of the day, at least from the way I look at my club, is the club, and like you said, the club comes first, right? The club comes before everybody. And so, as great as Ozil has been, probably, I mean, like you said, he has a special place in your heart and the hearts of many Arsenal fans. At the end of the day, if this is the best thing for the football club, then it's a fine decision. But I can't see that being the case, given that you have some players likely on that roster who don't have the quality that Mesut Ozil has. And again, it's a poor use of financial resources. So we'll see. I mean, January is the next opportunity to modify the registration. So we'll see.
I think so. I don't think he'll be on the roster. I think he will be gone in January. Yeah. I really do.
So,
and sorry, my last point on this. Yeah. I want to say I'm not there. I'm not behind the scenes. I've got no idea what the actual cause of this is. I'm only speculating from what we've heard.
From a fan perspective, yeah.
I'm just sad it's ending. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I can imagine. I definitely have been in your shoes, sad to see somebody go, the likes of Ander Herrera most recently, because of a fan favorite gone because of boardroom BS.
Yeah, the only saving grace that the board might have is that there's rumors and talk that there might be something in Ozil's contract, like appearance fees, that this is actually saving Arsenal money
potentially, depending on how the contract is structured. Yes, you are correct.
So we don't know because we don't have access to those kinds of details. So
all we can do is speculate. So, all right, Paul.
Thanks for giving me that time.
Yeah. Of course. Would you like to play a quick game of 20 questions before we sign off?
Let's do it real quick.
Okay. Let the questioning begin. For those of you who don't know, Paul gets to ask me 20 yes or no questions, 15 seconds per question. Otherwise, he loses a question, and he has to try and guess who I am thinking of. And I've thought of somebody.
Is this a current player?
Yes.
All right. Do they play in the Premier League?
Yep.
Okay. Do they play for a classically top six?
Yeah.
Is it Petr Cech?
No.
Oh, no. you were like, because he just got named to Chelsea's roster. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't.
Sorry. Does this player classically play for a top six side? Or
yes.
Play for a classically top six side? All right.
Yes.
Does this player play for Manchester United?
No.
Manchester City?
No.
Is that a top six? Yeah. Liverpool?
No.
Tottenham?
No.
Arsenal?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Is this player European?
Yes. That's 10.
Wow. Does this player play defense?
Nope.
Does this player play... Is he an attacker?
Yes.
Is this player below the age of 21?
Nope.
Has this player been brought into Arsenal in the past 3 years?
No.
It's not Mesut Ozil. Is it Mesut Ozil?
Yeah. I figured that would be meta. Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't get it 3 questions in when you were like, do they play in the Premier League? I was like...
I just thought it was too obvious because we just talked about it.
Yeah, they kind of. Not really anymore. Anyway.
Yeah, that's why I thought you meant Petr Cech. I was like, oh, Petr Cech on the Chelsea squad.
Nah. All right, Paul. Go ahead and shout out our social media, and then we will wrap up.
Yeah, follow us at, hopefully it's popping up right now, but right here, it pops up occasionally, at Cheeky Chip Chat on Twitter and or Instagram.
It's not there, but it'll pop up in a hot second.
It'll be there if you want. And on Facebook at Cheeky, or just Cheeky Chip Chat on Facebook. Follow me at Cheeky Paul. Put out some good content. You can check out my entire Ozil rant if you want. I go in depth
and a little bit more than I did on here. Of course.
Yeah, and follow and go to cheekychipchat.com for our content and get our name out there. Hey, friend, have you checked out cheekychipchat.com? Yeah. Anyway,
Thanks, man.
follow us at Cheeky Chip Chat
Well
down
done.
there
Well done.
if it's there.
And you can follow me at the Raw Hooligan on Twitter. Of course, as always, Paul, thank you for coming on. Everybody, thank you for joining us again this week for more cheekiness. We will be back next week with coverage of El Clasico and whatever other massive European games are on next week, along with, of course, another roundup of probably Champions League fixtures, because I believe there are more fixtures next week. Until then, I would like to give a shout out to Purple Planet Music for providing the intro music that you've heard this week. You can check them out at purple-planet.com. And as always, thank you for tuning in to the cheekiest football podcast this side of the Atlantic. And we hope that you chips will keep it cheeky until we chat next time. Take care, everybody.